What's up, y'all? Well, I just got done seeing Candace Owens' video talking about George Floyd, and she talked about how he was being seen as a martyr. Um, when I first listened to her, when I first started listening to the video, a little bit confused. Thought maybe she was even being a little insensitive. Um, she got into his rap sheet, criminal charges, and things like that, which, I still don't believe that's relevant. As a human being, and someone who has made many mistakes in his life, if I would doubt it, I definitely wouldn't appreciate that someone would say, hey, even though I'm not saying he deserves it, um, he was a criminal, and he did do these things in the past. So even though I'm not really saying it, I guess this is kind of karma. That's almost what it sounded like. Um, but as I listened, further into her message, one of the things that really stuck out to me, it was the fact that people are seeing George Floyd as a martyr. Um, and the interesting part about it is that here where I'm from, a couple days, around the same time George Floyd was murdered by that police officer, because that's exactly what it was. And those other police officers were accomplices and got charged as they should have. But right around the same time, two teenagers in my city here were gunned down and were shot and killed. And there was no outrage. There was no marching. There was nothing. There was just, unfortunately, just the family mourning the loss of their kids that were taken from them way too early. It's taken from them, period. Not that it's early or not. The way they went, no human being should have to go through that, and no family or parent should have to experience that type of pain. Um, the thing there are a couple points that Candace made that really stuck out to me, and uh, one of them is that the fact, as a Latino, the fact that people of color, we kill each other off and commit crimes against each other at a way higher rate than anyone else. And there's absolutely no outrage. There's no one marching. When you think about Philadelphia, they're averaging this year in 2020. They're averaging at least one killing a day, and there's no outrage. There's no one marching. There's no one protesting. There's no one going into those neighborhoods. There's no one stepping out to help the police officers, because God forbid if you're a snitch or a coon, or Uncle Tom, we don't want to be that, because that's not cool. God forbid if we actually thought differently, and we were actually looked at as not cool. And that's one thing Candace did say, is when people of color talk differently or think differently or think outside of the norm, we're coons, nerds, Uncle Toms, and that's a huge thing that's keeping our communities down, is that we're so hell bent on impressing and fitting in, um, that we lose sight that we have to wake up with ourselves every single day and look in the mirror. And we need to go through this life and do what we need to do that's best for ourselves and our family, regardless of what it looks like. Regardless if that means you're getting out of the community you grew up in and you want to raise your kid in a community where there's no crime or little crime and the school's a little bit better. All right? So now you're white. You want to be like a white person. You want to be like white people. Uh, you know, Candace made a lot of points that really stuck out. The statistics don't lie. They're gathered data. And they don't lie. It's almost as if we are entitled to come into our own communities and kill our own people. But how dare anybody else do that? How dare a white man come and kill us? But we can do it. We can do it. Over colors. That makes it cool. Over a block that we will never own. You tell me how many people, inner city folks, own their shit. Tell me. It's disturbing that we have continued to run with this narrative that we were given, that this is the type of person you are. It's a self-fulfilled prophecy. We're doing it for them. If you're so outraged and you're so pissed off at what the white man's doing to us, you're doing it to yourself. You're doing it to yourself. You're writing your own story. You know, I get it. When you think of historical trauma, when you think of intergenerational trauma, and we think of how we got here, I get it. I get the anger. I get the being pissed off. But what I don't get is that we don't use it for anything that benefits us. And then when somebody does, you don't support them at all. You know, you have, you know, you say don't go to, you know, let's not support Asian-owned businesses in our communities. Let's support our own black-owned businesses. How? How are you doing that? How are people doing that? By robbing them? Nickeling and diming them? By bargaining with them? By saying sister, brother, so you can get a lower price? They do that all the time in the Latin community. Oh, tú eres mi hermano. The hell that got to do with me paying my fucking bills? I'm trying to make a living just like everybody else, but you want to come hustle me. That don't make any sense. You know, I'm looking at all these riots all over the United States, and large cities and small cities, and the election or the primaries came through, and us, people of color, had an opportunity to vote. If you were out in the streets rioting and committing crimes, you know what that means? Since you're so pissed off that you weren't at the polls voting, since you're so concerned about all the freaking white people in Congress and all the state representatives and all the people in office, since you're so concerned that they don't represent you as a people, why the hell didn't you stop rioting for a couple minutes and vote? Because if you were out there destroying stuff, you definitely weren't in the polls. So how about that? You know, it's nonsense, and enough's enough. All of us have been through things. All of my ancestors have. My ancestors are the same as yours. So to continue to use the excuse that we can't get ahead in life because of X, Y, and Z, or you know why you can't get ahead in life? Because you don't want to put forth the work and the dedication and the effort. You don't want to be done with the ridiculous narrative that they've been feeding us. You don't want to be done with that. You don't want to get out of your emotions, and you don't want to think with your intellect. You don't want to be smart about it. You want to be pissed about it. We got to do better. Simple as that. Simple as that. If you're outraged because a white man killed a black man, you should be just as outraged when a black man kills a black man, when a black man kills a white man, or any person of color. Stop saying that it doesn't matter, because it's almost like you're saying it's payback for what y'all did to us. But we don't want to talk about racism. It's no different. Don't think for 1 minute, and I hear this all the time, I can't be racist. I'm Latino. I'm black. That doesn't even make sense. That doesn't even make sense. If you even look up something as simple as a definition, racism is what it is. And it can apply to anybody, regardless of what color you are. You're not exempt from it because they did it to you first. It doesn't work like that. It's the same thing when you spin it around. And it has the exact same devastating results it had for us and our ancestors. We're never gonna get better if this is a tit for tat game and it's all about our emotions and how we feel. I suggest we do something different. That's 2020. You so pissed off about it? Be pissed off and be a little bit smart about it. We have different means and different ways to make change and to make things happen. And that doesn't include stealing 65-inch color televisions. That doesn't include destroying people's property, committing crimes. That doesn't include beating somebody because they're white. That doesn't include shooting a sheriff dead, 70-something-year-old man. Doesn't include any of that. Doesn't include disrespecting people who have fought for this country. Doesn't include any of that. It includes you being pissed off. It includes you getting off your ass for any circumstance, for any situation, for any event where it affects your people or anybody's people, and be tired of it for everybody. Because when you make it just about you, then it becomes a divide. Simple as that. Be pissed off at the polls. You want people to represent you and to represent your community? Show up. Show up for city council meetings. Show up for town hall meetings. Show up at your school. You pissed off about the education your kids get, show up at school. So you can talk about that. How about that? Show up for that. Show up for that. Did you show up for the polls today? You couldn't because you were out rioting, destroying stuff. You fell right into it. Now what? Now we get to pick from the shit litter since you're so pissed off. The reality of it is, if we keep on responding the way we've always responded, we're going to keep on getting the same results. Let's do something different.